Oh, what a wonderful morning. Oh, what a wonderful day. I got this really big feeling. Everything's going my way. Here we are, my favorite place, the bathroom. And what is my video going to be today? Well, it's going to be something having to do with one of these light switches. And see this light switch here? Look at this. There's cracks right there. This is a 15-year-old dimmer switch. And I've never really seen a dimmer switch like that with the light just up there. Have you ever seen that? Most of the dimmer switches I see nowadays, the whole thing here lights up. I've never really seen one like that. But you see little hairline cracks in it? Mommy picked that up the other day. And they are, in fact, cracks. And I think they're cracked all the way through the switch. And if your fingers are wet, let's say, and you've just washed your hands, and you go to turn this, if this gets any bigger, the water could go through there or something. You could get shocked by this light switch. That's something I'm going to have to replace. Now, that's not exactly what I'm going to be doing today, but that's something I wanted to show you. And here, see this? Here, see this dimmer? It's got a little round thing up there too, but look at the dimmers that, well, this is not a dimmer. Oh, that's a lit switch, and that whole thing lights up. And man, I thought those were the dimmers, but I believe I put dimmers in before where this whole area lights up, not just the little dots. I'm going to have to take a look at that. And I've actually noticed, look at this one here. You see there? Oh no, what happened with that? There's little marks on there, and Mommy saw that one too. She wants me to replace those, and I'm like, okay, I'll do that. But I've got to go to the store and get some lit dimmer switches. I'll show you that another time. And you know, I thought these were lit dimmers, but and I just recently put these in, but I don't think these light up for some reason. This was a three-way dimmer switch. I'm kind of getting off track here. Bear with me, but those other ones were cracked, and you see this one here. Look at that, and it's not too bad there. But you see this other light switch here? Do you see what I'm seeing here? There's a let's see if I can't get you in there at a different angle. See that right in there? There's a scratch all the way through it. It's not cracked necessarily, but I don't like that. And I'm going to go ahead and replace that. And that, see, that's for my fan. And you see, that's something else I'm going to have to do one of these days. Hear how loud it is? That's a 15-year-old exhaust fan. I'm going to have to take that motor assembly down and see if I can't get a different one at the store. A whole motor assembly and replace that so I don't have to replace the entire exhaust fan. That's going to be another time. But for this particular video, I'm going to take this switch out. This is a single pole light switch, even though it's for the exhaust fan. Okay, and that's what the video is going to be about. If you want to see that, stick around. Now, speaking of those other switches, I've replaced in here. I've replaced these three-way dimmer switches, and there used to be a dimmer, or there used to be just a three-way switch. There's a paddle switch that was right here for these lights up here. But if we changed the lights, these used to be a different type of wall sconce, and we thought we'd change them to these LEDs. And I wanted a three-way dimmer switch, and I thought, I wonder if LEDs will dim, and lots of three-ways will dim. So that's what I ended up doing there. And then in some other places, I took regular light switch and changed it out to a dimmer switch. Whenever I did that, I would just, if the switch was still good, I'd save it. And that's what I've done. And that's why I've got some other light switches for that. I don't even have to buy any light switches. I've got some switches here, some old switches. This happens to be a single pole light switch, and it still works fine, and that's why I saved it. This is a white one, and you see I've got another one. Here's another one here. That's a regular, and I thought I had, oh, I've got an actual, see, this one here is an old one. Oh, that's a regular one too. I thought I had a three-way light switch, and it's really easy to tell the difference, and I was going to show you that, but I'm not sure if I got one. Oh, here it is. Let's just see what a three-way, see, a three-way dimmer switch. See, it's got two screws over here and it's got another one there, and usually one of those screws is a dark screw. See, I know that's a three-way switch, even though it probably doesn't say on there anywhere. See, this one here is ground screw, it's got two screws on the side. That's a single pole light switch. This is a three-way switch. This is the one I'm going to install, the single pole light switch. Okay, now the first thing that you need to realize is you've got to shut the power off. And I shut the power off, and I found out that the light was on one circuit, and it just so happened that the exhaust fan in this bathroom was on the same circuit. Now sometimes that's not the case, okay? This could be possibly on a different circuit. So when you check it, make sure you've got all the power off to your light fixture box. Sometimes you've got more than one circuit in there, believe it or not. Okay, so I'm gonna be replacing this. Remember, it had the big scratch marks in there, and this is one that I've saved from before. And see, some of these paddles don't have the nice trim around the side. This one does, some don't. This one's got the line around it, and I want to try to keep like for like because it's got this same type all the way around inside the condo. Okay, and you know, I saved this because it's still good. I didn't need to throw it away or anything, and I'm going to save myself a few dollars. I mean, this paddle switch, if you were to go to the store and get one, it could be, $3 or so. This is a single pole light switch. And what does single pole mean? It means that this switch is dedicated only up for one thing. And this is a single pole too, because this was only for one thing. That was for the light above the bathroom sink. But if you have a switch that you can turn on and off a light at this place and somewhere else around the corner somewhere, and you have two light switches to control one light fixture, then it would be called a three-pole light switch. Okay, but we're just doing the single pole, and I'm kind of at an awkward position here. I'm trying to reach over the counter so I don't get in your way. I don't have any light in here. I've got my trouble light in here. And so that's why you're probably going to see maybe some shadows, but I'm trying to do the best I can. Hey, I'm just an average Joe, remember? But you know what? Average Joe does good. If I can do it, you can do it. That's what most of my videos on my channel are about. How to fix things yourself and save some money around the house. And if I can do it, certainly you can do it. Okay. Now, this one switch looks crooked, but I don't think it is. And that's up and down. Now see, when I take this switch out, when I put this back on, I want them to line up. Now, what I could do is I can take my felt tip pin, I could put a mark straight above that. Now I can't do it there because the sheetrock was cut too low, but that's okay. I can line it up, and if I have to, once I get it in, then I can check this out, and if I have to move something, I'll move this over and line it all up and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so once I got it to there, I'm going to undo the mounting screws down here. Boy, that one wasn't going in very far, was it? That's because the box is pushed back inside the wall a little bit, and I'll just have to see if I can reuse the same screws, because see this top screw, look at that. That top screw is not a standard mounting screw. See that? They use something different with coarse threads. And look at their mounting screw on the bottom. Look how short it was. And it was barely going into the plastic box. I'm going to have to put, you know what? For that bottom screw, I'm going to use a drywall screw, 1.25" drywall screw. And before I pull that out, let me show you what that looks like. And that's the mounting, that's the type of screws I'm going to use. I'm not really going to use these because the box is way back in there. I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, these mounting screws on this light switch I'm not going to use. That's okay. I'll show you a drywall screw next. Well, you know what, for that matter, I think I'm going to use 2 drywall screws. These are number 6 1.25". And they're coarse threads. See that? Coarse thread meaning they're big threads. You can also buy drywall screws with fine threads. Did you know that? And it's important that when you go to the hardware store, you look for the ones that you want. Fine threads are for metal, like for sheet metal studs or screws of that sort. Now see, here's my one mounting screw. I'm not going to use that, I don't think. I think I'm just going to use 2 drywall coarse threaded screws. And see, you don't really see a screw like that very often. And if I ever needed to use something and have the finished screw show or something like that, maybe I can use that one. I'm going to put that in my box with all kinds of other coarse threaded screws, and I'm going to save that for another time. Okay, so these are going to be my 2 mounting screws for the new light switch. Okay, enough of that. Let's get on with the project, Joe. Okay, let's pull this out of the wall here, and we'll take a quick look at this before I start undoing everything. You see that it's got 2 side screws on there just like these, and then it's got a ground screw on the other side, and see, there's the ground screw right there. I think you can see that. And yeah, you can twist things whichever way you want. And see, I got plenty of room. I don't have to pull that out of the wall or anything. I don't have to worry about this because that one's staying there. I've got plenty of room there, and that's all there is to it. Now you'll see that the existing wires are screwed onto the side here, and that's probably how I'm going to do this next one. But you also see on the back side, see that? There's 2 holes there. I could push them straight in. If they were straight in from before, I could push them in, or if I want to take that off, I could. And you see on there, there's a little square notch right there. If you had wires in there to pull them out, you would just push on that with a little screwdriver, push in there on a spring-loaded goodie, and pull these wires straight out. Kaboom. But they decided not to do that, didn't they? They just used the screws on the side of the box, okay? Or the side of that. And I'm gonna do those last. I'm right-handed, so I always like to hang on things with my left hand. And so what do you suppose I'm gonna do first? I'm gonna do the ground, and see, I can just twist it out here like that. And I'm gonna loosen that screw up. And usually you can unscrew that almost all the way, and then you'll feel it kind of back off, kind of tight. And see, it stopped. Now see, I can just pull that off. And on this one here, I can attach it to this screw. And when I flip it up, it's gonna be straight up. And you might be wondering, yeah, Joe, but you know, on a standard paddle switch like this, how do you know if that's the top or the bottom? Which way would you install that? Because I always like it where you press on the bottom, that's off. You press at the top, and that's on. And everything in the house should be like that, unless you have a three-way switch. Sometimes you're going to have one up, and another area you're going to have it down. Okay, but here I want them all down. I don't want to make the assumption, but I can look at this, and usually somewhere along here you'll see it say top. And you see there, right there, see? It says top. I know that's the top, and there's the ground screw on the left-hand side. The other screws are on that side. That's how that was, right? So no guesswork on that. Okay, so I can just push that out of the way, and I can put that right on there and screw it down. But because this is twisted with the wide opening, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of pinch it together once I have this on. Now I'm going to look at that, make sure I've got that facing top, which I do. And see, now I can take this and just kind of get that a little bit closer together before I tighten it up. See? Like that. And I got that nice and tight. Sometimes when you flip these around, you could get it loose as you're doing it. I've had it happen to me before, once upon a time. Okay, so now I'm just going to twist that up like that. Okay, that's all you've got so far, right? You think you could do this? I think you could. You don't have to be an electrician to do this. You can save yourself some money by doing it yourself. Now here's what I don't want you to miss. This light switch is still working. It's got that long scratch in there. I'm just trying to get that off of there to make it look better, because every time I come in here I know there's a scratch there, and I'm like, hey, I've got another light switch. Why not just go ahead and replace it? It's not going to take me very long to do that. But if your paddle switch is not working, or it barely clicks, and you think something's off, or you kind of turn it, you can hear it go zzz, zzz, and it still works, you might want to go ahead and replace it, okay? Let's get on to the next step. What is the next step? Well, we're going to undo those two screws on that side, okay? Okay, so now I'm just going to push that out of the way. See, now I can take this and I can twist it in my hand sideways, kind of like that. Now, do I know which wire goes up to the ceiling fan, the exhaust fan, or not? No, I don't know which one does. Does it really matter? I don't think it does on a single pole switch. But for the sake of argument, I am just going to make it so that the top is going to go to the top, the bottom's to the bottom. It's all set up that way anyways. It's all nicely done. And you'll notice when I take these off that the loop on the wire always goes around the same way that you're tightening up the screw. Okay. And I'm hoping on this one not to have to take these screws out, but if I do, I could undo these 2 screws all the way and then hold it up there and screw them back in. Okay, if you want. And look at that, these screws are coming out nice and easy. And I think I'm gonna just pull them out. Okay, see there? Now sometimes the screws don't come out that easy. And for the sake of argument, I'm going to save this light switch. So I'll put those screws in later. And then I'll put the mounting screws on this one. I'm going to put on this one, just so I have it for later as an emergency switch somewhere. Or if it's going to be put in a storage room or somewhere underneath a stairwell, something like that. If I don't care where this switch goes, because it had that nice little gouge on there, I can use that somewhere else, can't I? Okay. Now, my top is going to go for the top screw, and the bottom is going to go for the bottom. And I'm just going to undo this a little bit. And see, on new ones, it feels like it's really hard to unscrew, and it is. But if I wanted to just really crank down on those screws, I could get them out. Okay, but I'm not gonna do that. If you notice, that bottom loop is bigger round than the top loop. I don't know if you can see that. See there, that one a little bit bigger than that one. See how that one's kind of crimped down, which tells me it's going to be kind of hard to get it over that screw unless I take this with my little hole here and hold that out there. I don't know why I still kind of work with these gingerly, thinking maybe there's power to them, but I checked it and there's no power to it. So I don't know why I'm always kind of working with them kind of easy. Okay, so now I'm gonna kind of put it on this way and then swivel it around, because I don't have much room to get it over on the other side there. See that? How it's twisted and stuff. And so if I have to twist it a little bit, then I can, or I can take that screw off. Okay, I don't really think I have to pull that screw off. Now see, I do that and try to get the tip so I can kind of push that back together. See, like that. And if I can get it a little more, and take my Phillips and tighten that up. Keeping the slack pulled that way with my 2 fingers here. See, like that. And you see how this is, whoever put this on, they should have had these straighter, because see how it's going to make it really difficult for me to get this on without tweaking this slightly with that. And that's why I like to undo the screws as far as I can, and then keep this hooking on there like that, and then I can swivel it down into place, keeping the slack out. And I was hoping they would have made the loop a little bit longer so I could grab it easier, but as long as the screw clamps on it, you're okay. Okay, so I'm going to loosen this, pull the slop out like that, and tighten it up. Okay, like that. There we go. Okay, and now I can push those back up, twist this like that. I know it's going to go in there. the same way as before with the wires up, up, back down. It's kind of like an S or a Z. So when I push it in there, it accordions in and out. You see what I mean? See? We're getting there, aren't we? Okay, so now the next step, my mounting screws. I'm just going to unscrew this and take it off. This is just a little cardboard washer in the back, and I can screw that in there like that. But see, seems as though I'm going to save this for another time. I can put it in here. Now see, some have, see this little goodie up there? I can push that in. It's not going to come out. It's not going to come out because there's that goodie in there. Okay? But if you don't have that little goodie, you can put that on there. Screw that on there like that. Okay. And where's my other one? My other one's up here. Okay. I could pull on this kind of hard and get it right out of that little cardboard screw. And they do that just so that your screws don't fall. Now see this one here? There's nothing there. That little clip is not there. This just keeps everything together. The next time you get ready for that, you can throw this in your box in a bag with all your electrical stuff and know that your screw is going to be right where you need it. Okay? And now I'm gonna get my screws back on here. I got a little Phillips screwdriver that happens to have a magnetic tip on it, and sometimes it helps me and sometimes it doesn't. But okay, oh, like I said, this sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't, like I said. But see, I picked up that screw. There we go. See, that has a little, that's got a little deal right there that's flopping back and forth. You could put the wire in to the side there and then screw it down straight without putting the curly Q in it. See, this side's got it too. So you can put it on the side or you can put it in the hole. If you wanted to strip your the end of your wire and just poke it in the back or slide it down through there. See, they give it, you can put it right there or right there. Run it straight and then clamp it down as long as you've got that little flap down. You see? Okay, enough of that. Let's get on with the next step. Now you might have been wondering, hey, how come these mounting screws, how come you did that, Joe? Why didn't you just use those same ones? Well, sometimes when they install boxes in the wall, they're pushed back, or maybe they don't cut the sheetrock out enough, and this plastic box is attached to a stud, and they push the sheetrock in there, and if it's not cut exactly, the side of it could push into the wall, especially with a 2-gang box. This is called a 2-gang box. A single gang box would be for 1 light switch. 2-gang box would be for 2, 3-gang, 4-gang. I've seen them up to 6-gang, 6 switches all together on 1 box. Okay, and so where the mounting screws are in the plastic box, they're stuck back about 3/8 of an inch from the face of the sheetrock. That's why I'm going to end up using these other screws. Okay, so now I'm just going to push this, hang on to it straight, push it back into the box. See, I'm trying to keep my knuckles or my fingertips from hitting the wall, and I'm pushing that in. I can see I'm up there nice, right there. Okay, now I can get my drywall screw in there, fish it in there, hold my mouth just right. And I think the 1¼ inch screws will be fine. And if it was stuck back any further, guess what? I have 1 5/8 screws I carry. I've got 1 inch, 1¼ inch, 5/8, 2 inch, 2.5, and 3 inch. I always carry with me. Okay. I look at that, make sure this is nice and flat to the wall. Not that this side is sticking out further than this side or vice versa, because when I get ready to put the cover plate on, I want everything to line up nice and flat. Okay, I got my little black mark on the sheetrock over here, and this one here, I'm just gonna tighten that to where it's flush with everything else, and I may have to loosen that up or tighten it in once I get ready to put the cover on, the cover plate. Okay. I'll take the cover and look at that, and I can see that the bottom has to be pushed over. Okay, so I'm going to loosen that, and I'm going to try to hold it over the best I can. Because see, I'm not, like I said, this one's just kind of flopping in the breeze, but because this one's tight, that's there. I want to be careful not to push that in too far, and then when I put my my mounting screws on the cover plate, that's going to keep this from going in or out. And see, I even put foam pieces of insulation inside my cover, and I did that throughout the condo to prevent air from inside the wall coming out. And you do that on exterior walls and even interior walls where maybe you have crawl space underneath your house. Maybe there's a hole drilled. Maybe the electrical goes underneath the house and goes somewhere else. Maybe somebody didn't caulk the hole. Maybe you've got air coming up from outside, air coming from the top down. And it didn't really cost me too much to get these on. And so I put those on everywhere throughout the condo. Okay, so I'm just going to push that over. I'm going to hold that up. This area is flush pretty much all the way, except at the bottom it looks like it's sticking out just a hair. Just a hair. So, you know, I could leave it, or I could take my time and do it right. And that means screwing this in just a hair. I like that. Okay. And now I can hold that in there. That looks a lot better. But because I am who I am, I'm going to put it in just a hair more. I'm kind of like a perfectionist. If I can, I always figure, hey, why not do it right? If you're going to do it, you might as well do it right. And, you know, is anybody ever going to see that? No. But I know that I've done the best I can. Okay. And now I take my little screws here and put those back in. And I know once I get that tight to there, that this cover's not going to go in, it's not going to go out any, even though that tab was not screwed down onto the drywall, because there was no drywall there, right? I just make these snug. I don't worry if the lines to the screw are not exactly straight. Like, see, both of these are almost straight across. Could I make these straight across? Yeah, probably. But I just make them flush. This happens to be a vinyl type cover plate. Some cover plates are a hard plastic. This is vinyl, which means you can push down on it more, and it's designed not to crack. But if you do it too tight, you could actually dimple these. And if you have the other cover plate, that's a hard plastic one. If you try to line all these up, let's say, like my electrician, who used to work for me years ago, he liked to have all of his screws straight up and down. Well, if it's not straight up and down, you know you have to turn it another 3/4 of a turn or a half a turn, let's say, almost a half a turn, and you do it. You could, if this one's really super tight already, you could possibly crack your cover plate. I've seen it happen. Okay, so there you go. That's all there is to this project. Okay, now are we done with this project? Well, almost. The other thing I've got to do, obviously, is turn the breaker back on and come back here and make sure everything works. I also have to clean up, wipe down the counter, grab my screws. See, I've got one extra mounting screw. I can put that in with my box of all my machine threaded screws. I can put this in my wood threaded screw box. I've got 2 screws for there. And then I've got my light switch that has the scratch in it, still works. Worst case scenario, I keep this for an emergency light switch, or if I reinstall a light switch somewhere where it doesn't really matter where it's at, if it's way off in the corner somewhere or something, maybe I'll decide to use that switch some other day, okay? All right, I'm gonna turn the breaker back on and we'll see what happens. Okay, I still have my trouble light on in the bathroom. I have not turned this light switch on yet. I turned the breaker on, and the important thing to realize is when you turn your breaker back on, hopefully it does not trip on you. If your electrical breaker inside your sub panel, wherever you have it in your house, outside your house, in your garage, outside your garage, in a storage room, wherever it is, you turn that breaker back on. If it trips, and then you try to reset it by turning the breaker off, then trying to turn it back on, and it still trips, that tells you that either one of your wires in here got loose, pulled off the back, or an existing wire inside your junction box got messed up, or you're jerking on your wires and you've got some wires in there that might be under a wire nut, and the wire nut got loose, and the wire is loose inside your wire nut, even though it looks like all your wires are underneath your wire nut. It's got to be something because it didn't trip before, okay? So then you'd have to pull this apart, figure out what it is, put it all back together, go back down, and to set a tripped breaker, here's something else to realize. I made a video on this one time, and if you don't know, listen up. If you have a tripped breaker, you go down to your electrical panel and you found out, hey, how come my lights in the bathroom aren't working? How come my electrical outlets in my bathroom's not working? How come the kitchen lights aren't working? Or the plug in the kitchen is not working? Well, you go into your sub panel and you find out that your breaker's tripped. You can't just turn your breaker on from a tripped location. It never works. You might think, oh brother, the breaker's broken. You first have to grab your breaker, turn it firmly to the off position and make sure it's clicked off, OFF. Then turn the breaker back on, okay? And hopefully it stays. If it trips, that tells you there's something going on inside your electrical system for wherever that breaker is, to where the wires go into your house, okay? A rat could have chewed your wires. It could have been a coincidence that something happened up there, or there's a wire nut that's loose in an electrical junction box up in your attic, inside your wall, by your light switch, by your plug. Maybe your plug is broken, maybe your light switch is broken. There's something that's causing that breaker to trip. Okay, so anyways, I turned it back on, nothing happened. I mean, nothing happened, meaning it didn't trip, it stayed on. So now let's try this. Okay, my light works. Now I've got, see, this light, this switch for the fan is down, so that's off. There goes my exhaust fan, my loud, noisy exhaust fan that I'm gonna have to replace one of these days. And when I do, of course I'll make a video just for you, okay? And I'll show you how to do that. You don't have to be an electrician. Lots of these things that I do, you do not have to be an electrician. If you needed to be a licensed electrician, if there was something I was showing you that I didn't think you could do, guess what? Chances are I'm not going to make that video. Or if I do make a video, I might tell you, hey, this is for advanced people, or it's something that I don't even know how to do, and that's why you're watching somebody else do it for me, or something like that. Usually all the stuff that you see on my YouTube channel, if you see me doing it, you can about bet that if I can do it, an average Joe, you can do it too. Now see, how long did that take? If I didn't have to explain anything, show you anything, I could have done this probably in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Okay? Doesn't take that long. No sense calling an electrician. If your switch is bad and it's not working, don't think, oh great, I got to call an electrician. And once that electrician steps in his foot in your house, guess what? It's going to cost you money. To replace something like that, it's probably going to cost you close to $100 or more, depending if he's got whatever he needs on his truck or whatever. Okay? So start thinking about saving some money and doing it yourself. That's all I have for this time. But I'll be back with more videos. Well, I can cross that one off my list as soon as I clean up.